Hey everyone, today we're diving into the world of digital ethics and what's called value-based engineering using a case study. So stick around, it's going to be interesting. My name is Matthäus Bulgarini, I'm a VBE ambassador and I'm currently also studying and working at Vienna University of Economics and Business. Feel free to go to valuebasedengineering.com. So what's value-based engineering? It's basically a new approach to IT innovation and is standardized in IEEE 7000 by IEEE and ISO, the big global engineering associations. So our guide for this journey is a case study called Lawyer AI, and we'll start by understanding what's going on with this Lawyer AI and then move on to the value exploration and wrap up with the ethical aligned system design. And along the way, we're going to look at common mistakes people make in this place. Have a look at our case study. There's this law firm called Legal & Partners and they've hit a rough patch, losing a big client and a lot of money. Think of it as losing what they'd pay to 20 junior lawyers in a year. That's almost like wiping out 2 years of the profits. Now here comes the twist. A tech giant named Big Tech AI. They offer a solution, an AI called Lawyer AI. It knows pretty much every law case from the Anglo-Saxon world and it can whip up legal arguments like a pro. Big Tech says this AI can work wonders, maybe even better than some real lawyers, to get the best for their clients. But here's the catch. Legal & Partners now has to decide between Lawyer AI or 20 of the junior lawyers. But this replacement of people by machine is also accompanied by personal knowledges not anymore cultivated in the head of lawyers. The knowledge would solely be distributed in the system without any transparency or control. And that's only one possible issue. Now here comes value-based engineering into the picture. But what exactly do we want to achieve with it? We want to identify potential upsides and downsides of the system, then we want to make sure the system aligns with the business mission and therefore identify solutions. Now how does value-based engineering start? So let's try to understand this whole situation a bit more with the value-based engineering approach. We don't know much about Lawyer AI, only that it's super smart. But who's affected by this? Who are the stakeholders? The top lawyers at the firm, the younger ones, the juniors, everyone else at Legal & Partners, their clients, the software companies involved, and not to forget folks like us. Because decisions in court today might affect us tomorrow. This is what a typical consultant sees. And this is what the lawyers in truth are working with. So first, we need to understand the system of interest or concept of operations. It contains core system elements, stakeholders, and data flows. This can be done with a contextual diagram. I think it is already clear that the system bears potential problems or harms and is not just a fancy AI. So let's talk value exploration. What's that, you ask? Well, it's all about understanding the true worth of something. The value issues surrounding the system for the good and for the bad. The first step after defining the system of interest and scope is the value elicitation, which happens with the help of 3 different moral analyses. A utilitarian analysis, a virtue ethical analysis, and a duty ethical analysis. Now, when we talk about the utilitarian analysis, it's pretty straightforward. We're trying to weigh the good against the bad. So we list out the benefits and potential harms for our stakeholders. Think of it like pros and cons. Imagine what good or bad could come to the world with this system. In this process, many stakeholders will voice their opinions and perspectives, and the role of the value lead is to organize and filter this information, ensuring each description aligns with its corresponding value. When we look at our case study and think of all the positive and negative effects, examples we could identify are that, yes, the efficiency of workflows will increase because of faster workflows with Lawyer AI. However, we also identified that the client's trust in Legal & Partners could be negatively affected, and as we said before, a de-skilling of all future lawyers is potentially happening. Now let's also have a look at the most common mistakes. There's imprecise or wrong labeling of values, using the wrong stakeholder, or describing more than one issue per line, which as a result leads to imprecise labeling again. Remember to think of all the positive and negative implications that come into effect with this system deployed at scale. Avoid these common mistakes by ensuring accuracy and labeling carefully, considering which stakeholders are affected, and provide a single, clear description of effect for each value. Using the virtue-ethical analysis, we want to pinpoint how the system of interest affects stakeholders in personal habits. Virtues are the positive personal habits, whereas vices are the negative ones. And because this isn't commonly used language, people tend to find this very difficult. Now, a fun way I like to explain this is through superheroes and villains. With role models such as Bilbo or Aragorn and anti-role models like Saruman or Gollum in mind, it seems much easier to find real virtues and vices. Again, we want to look at our case study from this perspective. Examples for virtues and vices we identified are responsibility, laziness, patience, and gratitude, to name a few. Responsibility because lawyers could always try to blame lawyer AI if something went wrong. Laziness because lawyer AI will overtake most of their tasks. Patience because clients will get used to fast results very quickly, and gratitude because they won't appreciate the services of legal and partners as much anymore. Common mistakes for the virtue ethics part are taking machines or systems as stakeholders, which is not possible, because only human beings can be value bearers of virtues or vices. Moreover, people tend to overestimate the positive effects on personal habits, which is why here we only focus on negative effects. And as said before, sometimes it is very difficult for people to come up with real virtues and vices, so think of my example from before. Common questions in this section are: why focus only on the virtues that are undermined or vices that are fostered, or negative effects? This is because in our case studies we have seen people tend to completely overestimate positive effects on human beings, as I said before. Secondly, why don't we use an existing list of values? This would prime the open-minded value elicitation and always lead to similar results for all systems. For the duty ethical analysis, we have to think of universally valid personal maxims guiding one's behavior. These are self-set duties of behavior everyone should agree with and follow at scale in an ideal world, no matter the context or person. For lawyer AI, examples in the duty ethical analysis are values like equality, which could be harmed as lawyer AI could advise legal and partners to only accept cases with a significant chance of winning. Another example would be dignity, as the junior lawyers get replaced by a machine. Justice could be harmed as people tend to trust machines blindly, and strange outcomes of lawsuits could be overseen. Here, common mistakes are that people do not use higher values or use values that are not intrinsic and instrumental values. Now, once you've pinpointed all these values, your next task is to first cluster and then prioritize them. Now we have to identify our core values. To better understand what a core value is, we can look at the higher value of freedom as an example. You could say freedom is the most abstract value, therefore the highest of all the other depicted values, such as autonomy, freedom of speech, access to education, or right of privacy. So for all of our values, we try to identify the higher values, and these are our core values. For our case study, we can look at the core value of knowledge or loss of knowledge. The value qualities show us how the core value comes into effect in our world, how it manifests. In a sense, they are the values we originally identified. Here you can see examples of core values from our elicitation, each with corresponding value qualities attached. You can come up with as many core values as you wish, and sometimes different core values can have the same value quality. Realistically, you should identify 4 to 8 core values. After clustering is done, we now have to prioritize which of the identified values the system should uphold. Criteria for prioritizing are also outlined in the IEEE 7000 standard. For example, stakeholders agree that the system of interest is good for society and avoids unnecessary harm. For this presentation, let's use the core value of dignity, which we identified for our system of interest. Dignity manifests itself through the value qualities of replacement by machine, lawyers' lack of responsibility, as they may no longer held liable for arguments, the rejecting of clients, with machines deciding which cases are worth covering, and of course the lack of respect for lawyers and their profession. So we have already identified potential upsides and downsides. We prioritized on which values we want to focus on, and now we want to come up with actual solutions. This is done with ethical value requirements, or EVRs. They're defined as risk treatment options. If you're into risk management, the following step might sound familiar. EVRs try to mitigate the risk of positive value qualities not unfolding or negative value qualities taking effect despite awareness. They can be organizational, technical, or social measures. Back to our system of interest, you can see the core values of dignity, its corresponding value qualities, and what's new are the corresponding EVRs. Each value quality can have multiple EVRs. Let's have a closer look at two of them. Dignity is harmed by the lack of respect for lawyers. Possible EVRs to mitigate this are 1.1.1. Make sure that senior lawyers oversee and overtake tasks alone without the help of lawyer AI. Point 2. Make sure that people can identify what has been created or written by lawyer AI and what by a human lawyer. Point 3. When introducing lawyer AI, educate people of what exactly lawyer AI is and how it operates. Second row, dignity is harmed by the rejecting of clients. Possible EVRs are: make sure that cases are only marked as very unlikely winnable if the calculated winning probability is below 5%. Make sure that cases that are marked very unlikely winnable are reviewed by senior lawyers. Next up, system requirements. These are about understanding the threats and controls. To get a better understanding, we have to look at what EVRs, EVR threats, and EVR controls are. EVRs are basically what we need to get what we want, whereas EVR threats are what could potentially prevent our EVRs, and EVR controls or system requirements are how to mitigate the risk of the threats to still get what we want. Back to lawyer AI, this would look like the following. Mind that core value and value qualities are missing here for the sake of space. We already discussed the EVR. Make sure that people can identify what has been created or written by lawyer AI and what by a human lawyer. A potential threat for this could be that it cannot be distinguished between human output and output of lawyer AI. Corresponding system requirement could be the output of lawyer AI is marked with metadata to know it originates from lawyer AI. Here you can see another example with the same logic. The EVR is: make sure that cases are only marked as very unlikely winnable if the calculated winning probability is below 5%. A potential threat: lawyer AI becomes biased after some time and the calculations are not correct anymore. And to make sure our EVR is still effective, we have a system requirement. Make sure the winning probability calculation is checked against the test set with every update and recalibrated if necessary. As you can see, this gets more and more detailed and therefore complex, and these are only two value qualities of one core value. To conclude or summarize what we've done, we identified potential upsides and downsides with the value elicitation. We prioritized to know our scope and goals, and we identified solutions and how we make sure our solutions get implemented. Of course, this has been a very reduced and simplified version of a VBE analysis, and usually you'd get around 5 to 10 core values to work with, but hopefully you could still take away the key elements of the value elicitation and understand what EVRs and system requirements are. And don't forget to check out valuebasedengineering.com to find more resources. And yeah, I hope I could demystify things a bit for you, and thanks for being here, and take care.